Hi there. Welcome to the Bloom Show. This is Sahid Nahim, your host. The Bloom Show is brought to you by Above All Flowers and New Bloom Solutions. The purpose of this show is to help the floral industry innovate, connect, and bloom by bringing on experts from all over the world, from different sectors, to share information, to just network and build community. We encourage you to participate, ask questions, chime in, even cheer on the guests. Today, super excited to have Arnold Wittkamp from Thursd. Arnold is a personal friend of mine. He's a gentleman that approached me 2 years ago and said, "Hey, how can I help you?" And we've created a partnership/friendship that we encourage each other and help each other. And it's a great example of how supporting different companies, or even in some cases competitors, can benefit everybody, benefit the industry, and benefit your own business. So I thank Arnold for that, for always opening the door to me and always being a gentleman to whatever we need, and we are the same to him. But today I'm super excited to bring him on to talk about Thursd, what they're doing, how they're innovating, and also a topic that we're just going to chit chat like two guys having a drink about cryptocurrency a little bit and metaverse, because we always talk about that when we get on a call, and he's always sending me some tips. So we're going to talk about that. And I think that's a lot of fun, because in our industry, there's two types of people, right? The curious ones and the judgmental ones. And I'm just really darn curious about what cryptocurrency looks like for the future of our industry, and what blockchain looks like, and what the metaverse. The other day, I heard someone doing a workshop on the metaverse. So excited to talk about that. Not that he's an expert or he calls himself an expert. We're just hobbyists, and we enjoy to talk about that. So I do want to mention before I start, June 28th, I am having Mark Dubner on, a managing partner of Stellar Bouquets and Stellar Farms. And that's a really great interview for me, because Mark was my boss for 7 years. So it's just kind of a whole turnaround to be interviewing my boss. So I'm honored to do that, and excited to do that. And I promise you it's going to be a lot of fun. So again, chime in. If you like what you're listening to and like what you're hearing, subscribe, press the little ding dong alert button, and you'll be sure not to miss an episode, as we have some great episodes. And chime in and ask questions and just have fun. So let me bring on Mr. Arnold Wittkamp. Sir Arnold.
Hi, Sahid.
How are you, sir? You hear me well?
I hear you well. You hear me well?
I hear you well. Thank you for taking your time. What time is it over there today at this time?
It's 7 o'clock in the
7
evening.
o'clock in the evening. So
yeah.
Thank you for having me over for dinner. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Arnold. And Arnold, truly, man, thank you for that first phone call that you made to me 2 years ago and said, "Hey, man, how can we work together?" And I truly appreciate that. And it's an honor to have you on the show, a personal friend. So thank you for that.
Yeah. It's always good to have a talk together, as the topics go
pretty broad. Yeah.
Left to right.
we try to talk at least once a month. So I appreciate that always. Yeah. I see that cool painting behind you. What is that about?
It's actually a bird. It's a parrot. It's a kind of sad story. My wife saw this painting somewhere, I don't remember. And it matches the colors of the house, basically. And I'm always working on this side of the table, and she was picturing me in front of the parrot, basically. And the story of the parrot is a bit sad story, that it's always looking inwards. And on the other side, it's supposed to be beautiful. So the artist who painted it saw something in it. And we like it. It's a very large painting, from the floor to the ceiling. And the colors matches with the plants in the house. We love plants. It's always green, wearing green.
I always see those are the only plants. You have plants all over your house, right? Everywhere. It's pretty cool.
I'm actually a plant guy. So when I was 10, 11, I went on the bike to the garden center and bought my own first plants for my own room. I actually had a bonsai of a geranium, a lemon geranium. So which I got it for years.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's a great segue. Tell me about your journey into the floral world. It wasn't just fresh cuts, right? It's been a little bit of everything.
No. I started working on the floating flower market in Amsterdam, which back then I was 15, so it's a long time ago. And it's now a touristic place where you can buy t-shirts and hats. But back then it was a real flower and plant market. And I was working at a plant shop basically. And we sold plants, indoor plants, outdoor bulbs, tulip bulbs, etc. I went to university, and to pay my bills, I was working more and more. And then in the end, I could hire a little flower shop in the center of Amsterdam, where I was selling bouquets and cut flowers. And from there, I opened my own flower shop. So I've been in flowers for long, and I worked at a very high-end flower shop in the center of Amsterdam. And then I end up in Aalsmeer working at Water Drinker, which is the largest plant wholesaler in the world, basically. And I was a kind of service a guy for high-end florists, because I knew floristry, I knew the nomenclature, so I knew all the names of the plants, and I got phone calls from florists from Paris who needed a Lucky Luke cactus with one arm here and one arm there, and then I went searching for it at a grower, so I found the growers. So I've been in touch with growers since then also. From there, I went to Parfum Flower Company, which is an import company in Aalsmeer, also at the auction for David Austin roses. Yeah. And there I got total freedom to do the marketing. And we soon found out that we needed to target floral designers, because the trade was not so easy for that type of product, because a David Austin rose is quality-wise a very different product than a normal standard Ecuadorian rose or a European rose, a botrytis, a short vase life, etc. So we were targeting floral designers to create a pool from the market, and that was very successful. So, and then the traders had to deliver, basically, because their customers were asking for it. And to make the little bridge to Thursd, I basically learned at Parfum Flower Company that as a grower, breeder, or owner of a product, it's okay to go to the end customer. For me, the end customer is not a consumer, but it's a floral designer, a flower shop, an independent garden center, or a buyer for a larger retailer, basically. Mm-hmm. And with Thursd, I try to make that connection between the grower and a decision maker, basically.
And so how did you get into Thursd? Like, how did you get into the technology of it? Because it's a technology as well. So how did you get into that platform? Why?
Why? Thursd looks like an online magazine, basically. Okay. So traditional magazines do still really, really well. So I'm the last one to say, well, you should not do a traditional magazines. We have an online magazine, but on the back of it, we have a technology where we connect the products we talk about to the source, and basically all the different chains in the logistic part. So we connect the product to a grower. From the growers, we know which traders they can deliver, and we ask flower designers who have their profile on Thursd where they buy. Mm-hmm. So the moment we basically upload a new product page and we connect it to a grower, it's automatically linked with every flower shop in the world who is connected to a trader having access to the product, which is quite cool, because I think we need some transparency. And what I see is that many floral designers, they know what's available from their own wholesaler, and they see some things on Instagram, Facebook, but they feel it's kind of out of reach for them, and we try to open it. So, but also for a grower, it's interesting to say, well, I'm the grower of this product, to maybe attract importers, traders, etc. So we make everything connected, basically. And for me, Thursd is a platform where the grower and the breeder is key. They own the product. They are the starting point. They make a decision to grow something or not. And then the decision maker is way further down the chain. And I'd like to influence and tell floral designers, well, this product is here, and try to connect those two. And I see then the trader, wholesaler, exporter part more as a logistical financial partner in that sense. So the filter of the trader, in my opinion, is something that technology can change.
And what's the vision of the company? What's the long-term vision of Thursd?
The long-term vision is that we create, we become the Google of the flowers and plants in the broader sense. I started Thursd acknowledging the fact that you can only get a large audience if you have good content. So that's what we've been doing for the last 2.5 years, just throwing out great content, content that's earned and not paid for. So I believe in earned content, so that people gonna look at you because you earn it, basically, not because you pay Facebook a little bit for that week or that second that people are watching their timeline and then it's gone again. So it's a long-term strategy that we build a platform with a large audience, and from that, and that will create many business opportunities, of which we, of course, thought about in the beginning, but you don't know which one will come first and which one will come last. But we are developing into becoming the place to be when you are interested in flowers and plants, B2B. And of course, you cannot stop the B2C part.
And then I know, and we've worked together on this, your virtual show. So your virtual flower show that you have. I know that this wasn't a question I was going to ask you, but tell me about that a little bit so people understand the value of that, how it helps with SEO, and just how it helps with awareness, and maybe a case study or some results if you can.
Yeah, and we do basically 3 types of content on Thursd. So we have the editorial content. So when we see something which is nice, which we think our audience will be interested in, we will publish it. We have sponsored content, so you can pay us to talk about stuff. And we do kind of link building content. And for the link building content, it's important to understand that when Google looks at your website, it checks what's the content of your website and where it is leading to, and from which sources you will be linked to. So because Thursd has such an enormous amount of content, we've got about 10,000 pages now. Google sees us as an authority when it comes to flowers and plants. And when you have a link in an article somewhere on Thursd, it's good for your own SEO. So the trade shows, basically online trade shows we hosted, we decided to do it because of the COVID-19 situation, because it was not possible to have a physical exhibition. And now we don't do it anymore because we understand that the physical meeting and the physical fairs are much more valuable than an online one. But back then it was really interesting to see that some companies did understand the value of it and some didn't. And we attracted a completely different audience by doing those kind of online exhibitions. We've hosted, I think, in total 3, which were taking a week on Thursd, and then we had breeders, growers, suppliers having their online booth, which basically was just a great article, a great blog post on Thursd with links back to their landing pages.
That created more awareness. I thought you still were doing that. Sorry for miscommunication. I thought you were having one coming up this September.
Well, the advantage of an online magazine is that it's not printed, so you can change it all the time.
Forever.
We noticed in the last one we hosted was in end of January. There was less interest, and because of people, most people are so happy to see each other in person now, that the necessity for it was basically gone. And then we can decide to do it in a smaller form in November again for our partners as an extra service. But it's not the same as it was before, and I hope it won't never come back, because these days in the Netherlands we've got the flower trials where the pot and bedding plant breeders show their new products, and it's way better to see the products in real time and shaking hands, etc.
So I have David Kaplan, my co-host here. Thanks for sharing our content frequently. We see how effective your content is, and we share it on our newsletters and other social media. So thank you for that. We do see the response.
Thanks for thanking me.
We appreciate you. So again, to the guests, to the viewers, please feel free to ask questions or chime in. And if you have any good stories about your interaction with Arnold, only good stories, please share. Please share. So Arnold, tell me, what does Thursd mean? Interesting word. So how did you come up with it?
Well, I didn't. It was the founding partner I started with. So all the credits to him. Thursd is short for Thursday, of course.
Yes.
Which when I was sending out newsletters in the industry, I always did it. When I did it once a week, it went always out on a Thursday, because here in Europe, it's the slowest day in the business, also for flower shops. So people have most time to open the newsletter. And then people are thirsty for content, and flowers and plants are thirsty. So we made you have to choose a name, and I think it's the most difficult thing to choose, but I think we've done well. It's a very recognizable, it's very short, and many people still say Thursday, and then and that's fine too.
That's cool. And you started, how long ago have you been doing this for? 4 years now?
We started building December 2018. We went live in September 2019. So we've been live for almost 3 years now.
And how many subscribers do you have?
Subscribers to the newsletter, it's around 66,000.
Okay.
And but we have around 200K monthly visitors.
Wow.
I know from the newsletter subscription that it's mainly B2B. Of course, more and more consumers are subscribing nowadays. So I think, and Google doesn't let you know if somebody is a grower or a florist or a normal person. So I don't know, but based on the numbers and the pages that we watch, I expect that we've got about a 50K B2B watches every month.
That's a big number,
but it's still a lot.
That's a great number. I have a question from a personal friend, Guillermo. The golden question, of course, is what is the cost? So Guillermo, that's a hard question.
What do you get? So
he got a little uncomfortable on his chair, but go ahead, Arnold.
Yeah, we work with your partnerships, and depending on the needs of the partner, it's also, we try to find the right content to write about. So of course, when you're willing to pay for just a banner, that's totally fine. But we are actually looking to write great stories that our audiences would like to read. So what does it cost? It's when you have a monthly membership, it starts at only $500, and then you get some content and some bannering and some newsletter presence, etc. So the starting point is really, really low. And I always ask back, so what do you want to achieve? Because I only think in win-win-win. So it's got to be good for the customer. It's got to be good for Thursd, but it also got to be good for the people who are watching Thursd. So it's really important for me. For me, it's not a competition to attract as many customers as possible. No, we have a growth strategy in which the advertisement model today is important to us because it pays the bills. But in the end, I think people just want to join Thursd to see what's happening, and all kind of benefits will flow down to the members of Thursd. So I don't know where exactly it will be leading to. Of course, I've got my hopes and I've got my visions. But when I started Thursd in 2019 in September, I thought the whole world would stand in line to join Thursd. But they didn't.
Shame on you.
So we really had to shake people up, like, you don't understand online marketing. Don't you understand
We're
marketing?
still there, man. We're still there, trying to get them
Go to school and learn marketing.
Yeah.
It's especially on the CEO level, on the board level, in the industry, the marketing perception is so ridiculously bad that I don't. Well, maybe I can name now out of my head 3 companies with a great marketing vision, and they're all based in the States. So in Europe, it's like,
That's
oh
what
man,
we've heard. Yeah, I've heard lately
it's
that
board
Europe.
level, because there are working great marketeers, but they have to go to the board and say, well, I need this for Thursd. I need a few €1,000. And they say, what does it cost? Why so much?
Yeah.
What do we get? It's difficult.
And even when you say what you get, they don't understand the work that it takes to get there, right? That it's not just a press of a button. It's content takes hours to create and to think of and to write and to support and also what you've created as an infrastructure as well. So, and I've had that understanding that Europe, correct me if I'm wrong, that Europe seems to have stayed a little behind. That the U.S. caught up, especially during COVID. Understands somewhat, technology, understands marketing, understands digitalization, digital marketing, but Europe seems to be a little lagging behind. Is that correct? I've heard that lately.
Well, for me, it are 2 different worlds. When you look at content creation in the US, B2B for the flowers and plants, it's the same as in Europe. It's awful. I just read a blog of I think 1-800 Flowers about the best scented flowers.
Oh,
then you think 1-800 Flower, but then they're talking about garden plants which you would never see in a bouquet. And I think
they outsourced the writer.
Who is writing that? Then they have a picture below who is writing it, and then I understand he's not from the industry. So if you are not from the industry, you cannot write for your growers or you cannot write for traders. It's because the industry is super complex. It's for the outside, it looks very easy. You just have your beautiful flowers. What's so difficult of selling beautiful flowers? It's the most beautiful thing in the world. But it's the complexity of the industry is underestimated by, I think, by most who come from outside the industry. So writing content is not so difficult when you can write and when you understand the industry. And that combination is very scarce.
Very scarce. And we've run into projects where they want us to do our thing, but they have a marketing agency that's writing the content completely off because they're not understanding the industry.
You see that all the time. Also with the website texts, even the simple things or the posts on Facebook. So if you know any content writers from the industry,
I was about to mention that because I know, and I actually have somebody that I'm going to recommend to you soon. And I'm just testing them out myself, but that's another thing is that you're always looking for content creators and blog writers, right?
Yeah, I think content is king. So it sounds dull, but that's the way it is. So as Thursd, we of course are always looking for interesting stories, but we also have to write sponsored content. And that's the most difficult there is, just to write about a new white chrysanthemum, which looks exactly the same as the last one, but it's actually a far better flower. And you have to understand in order to make a great story. For me, I can write about any flower, any plant, and make it a great story. So there's always something to say, but it's not so easy. And I think that's also why we have grown so quickly, because people recognize we write what people are interested to read. And it's not a news site, so we don't talk about there was a fire in a greenhouse or the daughter of the owner got married to another grower. So it's really,
You also write some great stuff about art. I've seen you highlight some great artists that made petals. So you're not just talking about flowers in general. But again, are you looking for blog writers? Like if someone wanted to write a blog for you, what do they do?
Definitely. We at the moment have, I think, had around 150 people, including you. Hey, you are
Okay.
also a blog writer on Thirst. We offer a stage. So I always say when you are a blogger on Thirst, you have a stage, you have a place where you're in the spotlights, and use it, but make sure it's real. So when you write as a person, we've got about 100 floral designers from all over the world, who sometimes even get flowers from our partners, and then they write as an influencer about how great these flowers are. The tricky part is it has to be real. So we always tell our bloggers that if you don't like the flower, don't do it. And make your own style and make your own, because most visualizations and most photography in our industry is for me very staged. It's very unnatural.
Yeah.
When I want to see a begonia flowering plant, I want to see it when it's been flowering for 2 or 3 months, when it looks real. So not when it just comes out of the greenhouse in a nice spot. But nobody has it like that. So, and that's the contextual part, I think, which is really important. So if you are a good writer and you would love to promote yourself, because I think it's also about your branding yourself. And if you are an authority on any part in the industry, so if you are a good floral designer, or if you know a lot about sustainability, of about growing specs even, please go write and share your story, because people want to read stories.
Awesome. So I have Guillermo chimed in and said, we need more flower influencers. Thank you, Guillermo. Guillermo's becoming one as well. He has his own show now. So congratulations, Guillermo. Jay Schwanke talking about flower influencers, the legend, the pioneer of flower influencers. Yeah. Well said, and amen. Very good point, Arnold. I believe he was talking about how you just can't write, and you need experience to be able to understand the industry. That's why I hire someone like you, or join something like you, or us as well, or any specific flower industry consulting agency. And then David Kaplan says, always looking, but have to understand our industry.
Exactly.
So that's a fact. And then Jay also is saying, although I create consumer education, I'm grateful for the exposure that Arnold and Thursd has shared for Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom on public television here in the US. So
I'm very happy to do it. In this case, I'm a great fan, of course, and a consumer marketing is, for me, the ultimate goal. When we publish on Thursd, of course, there are consumers watching, and we're gonna put a little more emphasis on that. So we're gonna talk about your rare house plants, which is always great for consumers, but also how to take care of your roses, basically, which is a consumer story. And we can only imagine what Jay has done for the flower industry. So you cannot put it in any value or something, but it's a fact that people are buying more flowers because of him. And of course, it has to be, he has got to make money too. So here in Europe, people look a bit different on influencers. So in the States,
the US as well. I think our industry in general looks at that a little different.
Yeah, they're a bit hesitant, and they think, what's the catch?
Yeah.
And there is no catch. It's just we do a flower promotion. It costs money. Yep. And so for me, I see a great future for flower designer influencers, which we hope to connect to the breeders and the growers and the traders, and they will use more of them.
Yeah. And I think that we're starting to realize that with micro-influencers and understanding how they could affect your own region.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're hiring a micro-influencer for your flower shop area, and there's a little town that's like a college town, and you get the top football player nowadays, or you could even go after football players now, that's a micro-influencer in a sense. So there's a lot of things you can do. It doesn't only have to be a florist. It could be a local.
True. But that's consumer influencing. I'm sticking still to the B2B part. And for example, when I have an export company in Amsterdam, and my target group is in the area of Paris, then I choose 5 or 6 of the best Parisian flower shops.
Okay.
And I tell them, well, I buy my flowers from this great wholesaler. Look how great the flowers are. And here you can buy them. So you can just put your web shop button on it, and you've got a transaction. So it's also measurable, which we, with Thursd, we will never do. We will never start selling stuff like that, because then we are not independent. So for me, the independence of the platform, we should only connect.
Understood. Gotcha. And then Mr. J is saying Thursd is top notch, and I love Thursd content. So there you go, an influencer's validation. So you should have 1,000 more viewers by tomorrow. So, question for you, and we're always talking about this topic, and I hope it is an interesting topic to our audience, is cryptocurrency, blockchain. The question was, tell me how you think cryptocurrency will work in our industry. What have you seen? Some use cases? What are you thinking?
Well, when I started Thursd, and I was started to think about it in 2017.
Yep.
And you remember, as a crypto enthusiast, we hit the top of the market at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. So I think Bitcoin was then reaching 20K.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking about crypto. And I'm not an expert at all, but I know that the decentralization part of it. So basically, when I own an export company, you can buy from me at this one central point. And I like the decentralization part of it. So I was thinking, we're going to create a platform, an idea. We're going to write a great plan, and then we go to the industry, and the industry can buy a crypto coins, the Flora coin or the Thursd coin, whatever.
Okay.
And they fund a new way of doing business together. So you create a kind of technology with funding from everybody in the industry. So a small grower can buy $100 worth of coins, and a breeder maybe $1 million, whatever. And then with that money, we're gonna create a new way of transparency and doing business together, and do the business with a crypto coin. So that's how I started thinking about what my dream would be with the crypto in the industry. And what I like about some of those things is that it's not owned basically by anybody. Bitcoin is not owned by anyone. Nobody can switch it off, and it got its value because of the use case. So if you have a great use case, it has value. So, and of course, I'm greedy.
So I know you've called me a couple of times, like, so the cannabis industry is actually taking it on as well, because it's grower. They're able to calculate where it's coming from, timestamp date. So that's an interesting industry.
Exactly.
To look at, because
within a transaction, you can give all kind of data. It's with cryptocurrency. It's good you mentioned, because to make it a little bit more clear for people who don't know anything about the cryptocurrency.
Exactly.
But if I pay you, let's say one Flora coin for a bunch of flowers, in that transaction you can send me, or I can send you, when it was harvested, how tall they are, all the specs, and it will never disappear. So the moment I want to resell it, everybody can see what kind of data is within the transaction. So it's a transparent way of sharing information. To make it a bit more clear, maybe people can understand it better, there was a cryptocurrency for the used car industry. So where there was a computer inside your car who you measured everything all the time. So how fast you drive, if you have an accident, how fast you brake, if you are a slow driver, etc. And then when you want to sell the car, anybody can see what they're buying. So you don't need a dealer anymore who is saying, well, this car was from an old lady who never drove, it was always inside. No, the actual information is within the transaction. And you cannot change it, because in the crypto, in the blockchain, everything is is definitive, and the information is definitive.
It's there forever. Yeah.
But to have something like that in the industry would revolutionize everything. So,
and why do you think? And what's interesting, these are our conversations that Arnold and I, we go back and forth. Why do you think it cannot work? What will hold people from doing it?
Well, if you give me 100 million, so today, if I say, well, I'm going to write a white paper of like this big, and I'm going to give presentations all around the world at every breeder, and actually I could sell for 100 million worth of flora coins or Thursd coins, and I can hire a specialist, IT specialist and blockchain specialist, then maybe we can pull it off. But when making software and hardware, you don't know if it will actually work, because it's super complex. Our industry is super complex. It's not like we have 2 types of broccoli. No, we have thousands varieties of roses in different lengths. But also, the rose today cut in the fridge is a different one from the same one tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's super complicated. But, well, if people now say, well, that's interesting, Arnold, well, let's discuss it and see how we can move forward, I'm all open to it.
You're always open. So,
because it would be awesome.
So let's talk about metaverse a little bit. And metaverse is not Facebook, to those that are not aware. They just kind of took it from that word, which came from correct me if I'm wrong, from a book. But metaverse is interesting. The other day, someone called me and said that they were doing a metaverse flower training or something of that nature. That was interesting. What are your thoughts about metaverse?
Well, I see my kids. My oldest is almost 16, and now he's not doing it so much anymore, sitting in his chair. But he had friends within a game. So he was playing Fortnite, and he was talking to his friends at the same time. And he had a movie on, and he was watching Netflix, and he was doing his homework all at the same time. And then he got to know people. And then when it's somebody's birthday, so what do you do in a game? You say, well, I've got a nice sword. I want to give you this sword.
Yep.
Basically. So why not give flowers? So why not make a flower bouquet for the gaming industry? To give it to because when I was young, we were hanging outside and you're watching girls and whistling. And now they do the same thing in the virtual reality.
Yeah.
So they meet one another in the virtual reality. For me, the metaverse is the virtual reality. And for all I know, we are already living in one, and we're going to create a second one or a third or a fourth one. Like, for example, Elon Musk is saying we live in a simulation, which could be, I don't know, but we could be. But the technology is going so fast. So, and what does it say to the flower industry? So young people, do they think it's important to buy flowers? So I want to give also a heads up to Call Flowers, because they made this great video about your flowers being the best self-care, which is just great because
Call Flowers, that flower.
The reason to buy your flowers is because it makes you happy, and when you're happy, you are healthier. So, but young people, they buy less and less flowers, and if we can already reach them in the game, that giving flowers is important. Don't give a sword, but give a bunch of flowers. So how are we create those flowers? We have to make digital flowers.
Yeah.
Do they have to represent real flowers? No, it can be avatar flowers. Now we can make bouquets. We can ask the top-notch floral designers to create a virtual a bouquets. You can sell it as an ETF, and then you can upload it in the game, and you can give it to somebody.
And on top of that, look what Gucci has done, Nike has done, Adidas have done, Hermes, I believe, even did it. They're advertising in this metaverse. So there is going to be an opportunity where you walk into a flower shop and pick your flowers, and then someone creates it to you and delivers it to you. That's another level of this. Not only is Nike creating shoes that you can wear, but they're also branding. So I think that the first...
But that's also the target group. So do young people buy flowers and plants? No. we have always tried to do it. Have we tried? Because we were always segmenting our target group. I don't believe in segmenting at all anymore, because I think people are really fluid all the time. But if you want to reach young people, and if you want to persuade them to buy flowers for their mother or their brother when their birthday, you should reach them. And where you can reach them, in a game. You can't reach them anywhere else. They're not on Instagram, not on your Facebook. They're just maybe TikTok a little bit, but they're in this game. So, and when we want to change habits of people, and when we want to create a habit of buying and giving flowers on a young age, we have to do it there. Because when a soccer team here is one to selling their shirts, they advertise in the gaming industry. They don't advertise on billboards, because those young people, they don't care about billboards.
Wow.
It's the old world, or in newspapers or on Facebook. That's the old world. So, for me, I've been thinking about creating an app to make your own bouquet, and then download it as a gift, so that it can move a bit, and then you can send it to your mother on the birthday, and then your mother says, "Oh, that must have took you 30 minutes to make." And it's just digital, It's not. And some people I talk to, they say, "Oh, then they stop buying real flowers." But I think it will only.
It only enhances it. Yeah. It only enhances it, encourages it. And when someone smiles, then you're like, oh, okay, it becomes a habit and something you want to do again for somebody. So Arnold, we're running a little short, not short on time, but thank you for hanging out. I'm going to do my fast questions, fast answers right now. I just kind of do it for fun. What's your favorite flower?
Yves Piaget rose.
Yves Piaget. And what's your favorite? Oh, are you a dog, cat, or plant person?
Plant.
Favorite color?
First thing comes to mind is pink, but I was watching my pink phalaenopsis. I think it's pink.
I think it's pink. And favorite that's a good thing as a man to say. I think favorite pink is pink. How about favorite band?
A favorite what?
Band.
Yeah. A Radiohead.
Radiohead, nice one. Favorite food?
Fuck me, that's difficult, man. I like porridge a lot.
Porridge, that's a very old
porridge with a layer of sugar on it.
All right.
I hardly ever eat it anymore, but I think that's my favorite food.
I think you're gonna have a bowl of porridge for supper tonight. You can eat all the porridge you want. I won't be jealous. Yeah. And then, who's your favorite flower industry mentor? Who's someone that has influenced you a lot in the flower industry?
Two people. This was my first boss on the flower market, Martin Rosen. I don't know if he's still here amongst it, and he must be 85 or something. But he have learned me a lot about selling, basically, because on a market you learn so much. You learn people, and he was really into that. I had to learn what was the story behind each plant. And then my second boss was at Flower Shop Ivy. His name is Jan Dippel. I think he's also about 80 now. I think he still runs the shop. And he was hard on me. And after 2.5 years working for him, I had this rash everywhere. I had no self-confidence, no self-esteem. He totally ruined me. But I came out from the hole a much better man than I was before.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you for opening up and sharing that story. That's awesome. That's a great story. And then describe 2021 in one word.
21, last year. One word. It's tip of my tongue. In English is the truth. Truth. For me, there's no more truth. There are only opinions.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep. And then 2022?
Hope.
Wow. Good. No, you got me there, man. There's only opinions. You're right about that. You're right. Yeah. And you hope that they're good opinions. You hope they're good opinions. And hope is always important. So Arnold, man, I appreciate your time. I always appreciate you as a person and a friend. Thank you so much for being here, opening up and sharing. And And thank you to the guests for also chiming in as well. And let's connect soon, Arnold, and whatever we can do to help you guys. And I know you're always an open book with us. So
Cool.
thank you again, Arnold. So great show. We have Monet is saying great show. Thank you, Monet.
Thank you,
for
Monet.
Flowers.
Thank you so
So
much.
you just complimented
Yeah.
that flower feeling. So Monet's always a great fan, and she jumps in on our shows. So thank you, Monet, for that. So Arnold, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you, man. Any last words?
Thank you, Sahid. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Arnold. I'll put you back in the bloom room.
Okay, man.
Talk
Thank
to you
you.
later, man. So again, thank you to Arnold for joining. Thank you for the guests. Thank you, Jay, for joining in as one of the legendary influencers of our industry. Thank you to Guillermo for chiming in, and my partner David Kaplan for chiming in from Above All Flowers. We are here truly to help the flower industry innovate, connect, and bloom. Today we talked about some innovations. We talked a little bit about flowers, and we got to know Arnold and his vision for the flower industry a little better. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Arnold is a gentleman that you could reach out to him. If you reach out to him on LinkedIn or Instagram, he will always respond. He's always very open and willing to help and give some thoughts and just to talk. So David Kaplan saying, great show. Appreciate you, David, as always. And don't forget that we're doing this every other Tuesday. So I was in the flower industry for many years, and I remember being bored out of my mind sometimes on a Tuesday afternoon. So we intentionally changed the hours to summer Tuesdays at 1 p.m. So join us every other Tuesday, as long as we can keep it going every other Tuesday. And next Tuesday, we're joined, or the 28th, we're joined by Mark Dubner, Managing Director of Stellar Bouquets and Stellar Farms. And the cool story there is that he was my Xbox boss. So I'm excited to interview him and to learn more about what he's doing now. So again, thank you, everybody. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. Please press the little alert button, and you won't miss an episode. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining, and thank you for everybody for chiming in. And especially thank you to Arnold. Truly appreciate you.